Welcome back to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Riera, and this is Bobby Boychev. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, man. For those of you who don't know, Bobby was on podcast sharing his life journey, and that was on season 4, episode 3. And I'll leave that link down below for those of you who want to watch it again or watch it for the first time. Appreciate you coming back on the show, man.
Of course, my pleasure.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, why don't you tell them a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a personal trainer. I work at Lifetime and Riera. I do work with people that want to improve their strength. They want to improve their mobility, reduce pains and aches, improve their movement. Also, I'm a nutritional coach. I work with clients that have goals to improve their nutrition and diets and good healthy relationship with food. And also, I coach small group classes like fight conditioning, which is a boxing, kickboxing, and includes some animal flow, and also train boxing and kickboxing for one-on-one clients.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And you have a lot of certificates, don't you? I feel like you have like 20 certificates.
I always like to pursue something new. It just keeps me inspired to continue learning and to like how to help people, how to serve them better. And it's just something that inspires me. I just really like what I do, and then I really want to commit myself to get better every day as much as possible.
Yeah, I could tell, man. I could tell. Every single time that I work with you and I see how you work with people, I could tell that you're very dedicated and passionate about what you do. So.
Thank you. That means a lot, seeing it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So this episode is, we're talking about mastering your fitness journey, right? From building muscle, fat loss, mobility, and more, pretty much. So to get us started, well, people want to build muscle, right? So, but what's the most effective way to build muscle?
Yeah, I think probably one of the first questions, like when I start writing programs to my clients, one of the first questions that need to be answered is, how often do you want to commit to training throughout the week? And then from there, you can determine what type of split or what type of routine you're going to follow throughout the week.
Yeah.
So let's say if you're going to commit to 2 times a week, your program is going to look different than somebody who wants to train 5 times a week. So for example, if you train twice a week, it's going to make more sense if you train 2 times of full body routines versus 1 day focusing on lower body and 1 day on upper body.
Gotcha.
The reason for that is there's also a lot of newer research that supports that it's the training frequency, how often you train each muscle or movement throughout the week also can contribute to more muscle growth and strength improvement.
Yeah.
So that's why if you train twice a week, it will be more beneficial to train 2 times of full body routines because you're going to target each muscle group twice a week versus where it's upper and lower body, where it's going to be, you're going to target the muscle 1 time a week, you're going to rest for entire week and then do it again. Right. And also if something happens, you miss that second workout, you still work out all the muscle groups within that 1 week.
Right.
It might not be a perfect program, and you might not cover every single movement that you're supposed to, but still will be better than not training that movement or muscle groups within that week and missing whole week.
So it just really depends on the schedule first, right? That just determines everything else.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. With muscle growth, what are the best exercises for it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it will be more individualized. So it depends on the person's ability because everyone moves differently. And so depends on, so I would like to have clients perform an exercise that doesn't create any compensation. So let's say if somebody doesn't have a good shoulder mobility, I wouldn't probably have them press completely over their head or pull completely over their head like a pull-up, for example.
Right.
just because they won't be able to achieve the joint positions required. So probably starting off with exercises that help you to maintain a good position at your body and proper form. And also, again, as I mentioned, like depends on how frequently you train. If you train 2 or 3 times a week, for example, you would like to limit probably the amount of single joint movements, like isolation movements, where you train one muscle group at the time. For example, that would be bicep curl, tricep extensions, quad extensions, hamstring curls, where you target just one specific joint. Just the reason for that is if you're limited in your time, it will make more sense to focus on compound movements where you target more muscle groups at the same time, and be more efficient with your time.
Okay. So if the schedule allows it, then isolation workouts are good to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How many times a week do you think is good for isolation workouts? Like 4 or 5 times a week?
If you no, I would probably prioritize. I would prioritize most of them are going to be compound movements, and then maybe within a workout you can do, let's say, up to 2 or 3 sets of isolation exercises. So let's say you perform 5 to 6 exercises of more compound movements. Like chin-ups, rows, bench press, squats, deadlifts, and then in the end you can add maybe some bicep curls, calf raises, or something like more isolated.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so like if you're doing a compound workout, right, that's working different muscle groups, and then after that you kind of assess of what muscle groups haven't been working out, and then that's what you could do isolations with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think also about the work volume that you want to do within a week to achieve muscle growth. Work volume is how much work we perform within a single week, or within a single workout. We can also measure the work volume, but within a single week, how much work volume you do for muscle group. Also, it's very important to build muscle. So normally for larger muscle groups, we want to be somewhere, what we see is between 10 to 20 sets per week is going to lead to muscle growth. And for smaller muscle groups, somewhere between 20 to 30 sets per week. But that's more for advanced people, because it's a lot of work volume, but still getting close to those numbers, you're gonna see good results. So for example, if for larger muscle groups, so let's say I can use my quads, for example. If I do, I train twice a week lower body, and I do squats on Monday, and then on Thursday I do lunges. Still is going to target my quads, and I'm going to do 5 sets on Monday, 5 sets on Thursday. I'm gonna get within that 10 to 20 sets range, so I'll do 10 sets.
Okay.
And that's also, it's more individualized, so it doesn't mean like somebody, if he gets really good response for 10 sets, for example, is going to get better response with 15 or 20 sets. So it's over time you can see how your body responds, because I think also another aspect is when I talk with clients, I think it's important to see what their lifestyle is. So how stressed they are throughout the week, do they get a good sleep, how if their work is more physical demanding or if it's more sedentary. All those things play a role, because if you, for some people, if they have a very stressed job, it won't make a lot of sense to go towards the upper end of this spectrum to do a lot of sets and get even more stress by working out.
Oh, interesting.
So in this case, probably they're gonna respond much better to lower sets and lower volumes. And yeah, so
that's just I never thought about that.
So so it's important also to consider the other things that are going on in the life. So you wanna recover well from the workout. So yeah, you train, but also your progress is gonna be determined how well you recover between workout to workout.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good note right there. And then like, okay, so talk to me about the difference between, a lot of women say that they want to tone. They don't want to build muscle, but they just want to get toned.
Yeah.
Like what's the difference there, and what exercises is an example of toning versus?
Yeah, I think most women are afraid of bulking up too much, and they, like, I don't think right now as much as in previously, but a lot of women think, like, if they start lifting weights, they're afraid to not bulk up. But yeah, I've never seen somebody to wake up next morning and to get a lot of muscle. It's really hard. For some people, it's really hard to build muscle, and especially for men. It's hard where they have much more testosterone than women. So normally, like for men, what is considered like an optimal range for testosterone, I don't think it's really correct, because it's a really big range, but it's between 400 somewhere to 1200. It's considered optimal for testosterone. And like, this doesn't mean it's optimal though. If somebody has 400 of testosterone and somebody who has 1000, for example, they're gonna feel completely different.
Okay.
And this person that has 400, it's still considered within the optimal range.
Yeah.
So it's like the numbers are a little bit like expanded.
Yeah.
What is considered as a normal range probably will be more like 700 or 800. It will be make more sense. Yeah.
Right. Right.
But where women, they have somewhere between 30 to 70. So you can see the
30 to
difference.
70?
Yeah, so it's what is considered normal as well.
Gotcha.
So they have much smaller amounts of testosterone, so it's much harder to build muscle for women. So that's probably one of the reasons that women shouldn't be afraid to lift weights, because like they have a lot of benefits. First, for building stronger bones, building stronger tendons, ligaments. Yeah, the muscles are gonna get stronger, but not necessarily. There's very few examples. Like also genetics can play a role. There's only very few women that they're going to respond to workouts and bulk up, but you can also modify the workouts.
Yeah, of course, and then nutrition plays a part in that
of
too.
course, and nutrition as well.
So there is no difference between toning, someone who wants to tone, and lifting weights?
Yeah,
because like what I heard
yeah.
is resistance bands is good for toning because it works to smaller muscle groups.
Yeah, first, if a client asks me about toning, I would just would like to clarify what they mean, because somebody, if he says toning, I think for one person it might mean something different, and for somebody else it could mean something different. I just want to clarify what particularly means for them. For most people it means more definition.
Yeah.
And for most people it will be, you want to build muscle, you want to lose body fat, you want a body composition change. So what we want to do, it really depends on the stage that they start with, but let's say they want to lose, so we're going to target more losing body fat.
Okay.
So we want to maintain as much muscle mass, so when we lose weight, we want to see primarily from a body fat percentage. That is the number that we want to drop, but maintain the muscle mass as much as possible. This is where strength training plays a crucial role, because it helps you to send the signal to your body to maintain the muscle mass. And also with proper protein intake, proper recovery and sleep. And when you're in caloric deficit, primarily we're going to lose body fat as you maintain the muscle mass.
Yeah. So as far as like muscle growth, what are some common mistakes that you see in the gym or with your clients?
Yeah, more as a technique mistakes, or maybe their approaches to workouts. Or
yeah, I would say when they want to build muscle. So like mistakes they do when trying to build muscle.
Is
it cardio? Do they do
cardio, I don't think necessarily is bad for building muscle. Actually, it could be beneficial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because first you're going to be able to perform more work within your workout. If you have good cardiovascular system, you're going to recover quicker between sets.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you don't have good cardiovascular system, it might take you longer to recover between sets.
Right.
So we're going to increase your work capacity within the workouts, and also you get better supply to blood, oxygen to your muscles. So I think if your goal is to build muscle, and if you're like some people that are hard gainers, so normally we have 3 different body types. And those body types, nobody is completely within this body type.
Sure.
But we have, so we have a mesomorph, ectomorph, and endomorph. So mesomorph is going to be somebody who is more athletic, so has wider shoulders, narrower hips. We're gonna see like a lot of, let's say, football players are gonna be in this category, boxers as well, and mostly people that are very athletic in nature. They're gonna respond to workouts, to any type of workouts. They're gonna put muscle very easily.
Yeah.
We're going to have endomorph, where their shoulders are narrower than their hips. So those people normally they tend to gain more body fat easily, and those are normally people that are in strength types of workouts, like powerlifting.
Yeah.
And powerlifting or sumo or this type of sports. And then last one is going to be endomorph. Endomorph, normally they have their shoulders and hips about the same width.
Yeah. Like a square.
Yeah.
Same.
So those are more endurance type athletes.
Oh, okay.
No, those are more hard gainers. They lose weight very easily. Their metabolism is higher, and they normally are much better in endurance, like marathon running, cycling, and those types of training.
Gotcha.
So yeah, normally we can approach the nutrition a little bit differently for each body type, where normally people that are endomorph, so their shoulders narrower, their hips easily gain more weight. So for them, it's going to make more sense to maybe reduce the carbohydrate a little bit.
Okay.
Normally they respond to a little bit lower carbohydrate diet better.
Gotcha. Okay.
As long as also there's also personal preference. So if they don't really enjoy lower carbohydrates, that's also a very important thing to consider. So, but I would say probably like 10-15% lower than what is considered normal. So let's say if it was, say, 50 or 60% of carbohydrates of your total intake, it's normal, well, probably 40%. So slightly lower than that.
It doesn't have to be a dramatic change or anything like that.
And where for people that are hard gainers, people with endomorph body type, they're going to respond a little better because they have higher metabolism to higher carbohydrate diet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's the wide shoulders, narrow hips?
They have
straight?
shoulders and hips about the same
Gotcha.
width. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. And then as far as like bad habits, building muscles and stuff like that, you also have bad form as well. Do you see a lot of that in the gym, bad form?
It is common, and I think like even like no matter how good your form is, there's something always that you can improve it and make it more efficient. I think that's what it makes it interesting and makes you to continue to try to get better. There's always like there's in any single form you can try to make it a little bit more efficient and feel better.
Gotcha.
Yeah, one of the most common mistakes I think we talk about in the last podcast is going to be people need to learn how to properly stack their rib cage over their pelvis and how to not excessively arch their low back, also not around their spine, just to maintain that neutral position.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big one for a lot of people because that has to do with reading your body
Yeah, you need more body awareness, and it takes time to, like, if you haven't done it before, it takes time to practice and get used to it. But like everything else, just the more you practice, the more you're conscious the way you perform it, then it gets very habitual and easier.
Yeah, I think that's where a personal trainer is good to use, right? Because like even me, like I think that I'm stacking properly, but a personal trainer is like, no, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, I thought I was doing it right. But
It's always good to get a feedback from somebody who
or at least a mirror or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
So when it comes to improvement in the body, sleep is a big one, right? How can sleep impact muscle growth and even weight loss or anything?
Yeah, definitely sleep. Interestingly, like about 35% of people, they sleep less than 7 hours, and it's like very big percentage of the people, they don't get enough sleep and don't have an optimal quality of their sleep as well. That's a lot of different things can play a role. Like if you're new parents, it can play a role, and if you're in a chronic pain, also might wake up at night more quickly if you're in pain a lot. Or also people with fluctuation in their hormones, like women in menopause. But overall, there's a lot of things, like, yeah, obviously those are things that we cannot control, but there's a lot of things I believe that can help us to improve our sleep and to try to find things that are good for us and to get more restful sleeps as well.
Yeah.
So regarding like sleep, I think particularly for fat or weight loss, I think there's two key hormones that we observe, and if you don't get efficient sleep, they go in the wrong direction. So one of them is going to be leptin. This is the hormone that it sends the signal to your brain that you're full enough, you had enough food, and you don't need to eat anymore. So normally this hormone is going to go down, and so it's harder for you to feel fuller, and then you tend to eat more.
Yeah.
And the other hormone is going to be ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone that is going to be increased, and you're going to feel much more hungrier and have more appetites and cravings for food after if you don't receive a good quality of sleep.
Right.
And normally people tend to eat about 200 to 300 calories more next day if they haven't get a good sleep. So over time you can see how this adds up, and it can actually impact a lot of the people's weight and their weight loss goals as well.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's good information, man. Yeah, I think that'll help a lot of people. I certainly probably get 6 hours maybe of sleep, and I move a lot when I sleep too, so that I wake up every single time that I move.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the problem I have.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, do you have any tips on that? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think there's a few key things that I've seen that they help people.
Yeah.
There's like normally the biggest ones are limiting your screen exposure before you go to bed. That's a big one. If you can't, you can use something like glasses that they block the blue light, or maybe set up your devices to reduce the blue light exposure.
Yeah.
But normally within 1 or 2 hours, if you can avoid it, that's ideal.
Okay, gotcha.
Also, another thing is if you can try to stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. I don't think we talk about that yet, but we, like, normally within a sleep cycle, we're gonna have 3 stages. So we're gonna have a light sleep, we're gonna have a deep sleep, and a REM sleep, or a rapid eye movement. So normally light sleep is when normally you're semi-conscious,
Yeah.
but you want to really wake up unless something unexpected happens. So let's say you receive a notification in your phone, or a partner moves in bed.
Yeah.
You normally won't wake up. Where next stage is going to be deep sleep. This is the stage that your core temperature needs to cool down, and deep sleep is very essential for repairing and recovering your physical body.
Right.
So this is where it plays a crucial role to, like, 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, to not eat anything, because if you're still digesting, your core temperature is higher. So that means you're going to go slower into the deeper stages of sleep. So it's going to be just delayed within the night.
Okay.
So,
So someone who is a hot sleeper, do you recommend that they stop eating even more, like maybe 4 hours before bed?
you can, yeah, definitely you can play around and see what it works best for you, and see what it gives you, like what improves your quality of sleep. If you track your sleep as well, maybe to notice some of those things that help you to receive better quality of sleep. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right.
Another thing it will be like maybe also early exposure to sunlight early in the morning. That helps you to set up your circadian rhythm. So also doing some brief exercise early in the morning to increase your heart rate, and that could be like something like 5 minutes. You can do just quick routine to increase your heart rate for 5 minutes. That also is going to help with the circadian rhythm. Another things also, limiting alcohol whenever it's possible. Alcohol, even though like some people think, okay, I don't have trouble falling asleep even if I drink alcohol before that. Yeah, you might have a certain amount of sleep, but that doesn't mean your quality of sleep is going to be good. So alcohol is going to decrease your sleep quality. And this is actually more for if you're people drinking alcohol regularly every day,
Yeah.
it might not impact their sleep quality as much compared to somebody who drinks here and let's say once or twice a week.
Right. Right.
But still, even if it doesn't impact your sleep quality, you still need to take a role and play in consideration how it impacts the hormones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's another thing. Maybe also doing something relaxing before you go to bed, listening to relaxing music. Breath work is very helpful.
What are some examples of doing good mobility with that in mind?
Yeah, so for mobility, like probably for the last year and a half, I started changing my approach, how I approach mobility training. Because in the past I've taken different certifications with corrective exercise, and what I was seeing though, like sometimes the changes in the body, they didn't stick for a very long time. When you stretch a muscle, it's going to stay, let's say, 5-10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, but then the muscle returns back to normal length. One thing that it really helped me is taking a biomechanics course to understand better how actually we have a certain relative motions is when we talk about smaller segments. It could be either at your hip or rib cage or the foot. They need to move more individually.
Yeah.
So that's normally it's best achieved by breath, because each time when you inhale, your diaphragm descends, so your rib cage, it expands, goes in more external rotation, your pelvic floor opens up, goes in more external rotation, the sacrum goes back more in counter rotation. So all those smaller joint movements, and they happen. And during some positional drills, we add different reaches in them that biases different expansions of your body, or depends on like your leg position also can bias different expansions and openings at your hip.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So basically, mobility is you're moving that joint, right? You're moving
Yeah.
what needs to
So we
move.
have two terms, flexibility and mobility. I think it's important to differentiate between both. So mobility is where I take my arm and then I lift it my overhead. So I'm using my own muscles to lift it. And where flexibility is more passive, you take my arm and then you bring it over my head. So I'm not doing any muscular effort to bring it over my head. So that's the difference between flexibility and mobility.
Okay.
One is more passive, the other one is more active.
Gotcha. And then with mobility, you want to do exercises that move that certain joint or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so also
So
be strong in this position as well. It's important not to have a certain range of motion where you are not able to control it, but you want to have also the strength and control over that range of motion.
Gotcha. So it's pretty much like it's almost like a light workout on that joint, right? Would you say that's correct?
Yeah,
As far as
definitely.
what mobility is and stuff like that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can treat it as a workout, but also just by being more mobile, we're going to be able to move better at the gym. So if your goal is to build more muscle, we're going to be able to lengthen and shorten the muscles much more effectively because the muscles moves within the proper ranges of motion. So. And also it's going to help you to prevent injuries, so you can have longer training longevity, and so I think it's very beneficial to also pay attention on your mobility work and
right. Does it improve posture as well?
Yeah,
Or can it, I
definitely.
guess?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think posture is first. Posture is just when you see somebody with good posture looks healthier and also it's just looks more confident and just looks better, and also you move much better if you have a good posture. So if you want to talk about posture there, so with normally within posture we have like maybe a couple of more common postures, compensations that we can see, but some people, they might have really bad posture and they have no pain at all. And that's the thing with posture, and some people, like it becomes problem when you start experiencing pain.
Right.
But yeah, always like by improving your posture, you can just move better. And so I think that's very important. And just by moving better, you decrease pains, aches, and not overstressing your tendons, muscles, and
I think some people say that like, oh, if you have good posture, your shoulders are back and down. But if I do that, I feel like I'm tensing up my shoulder blade muscles. Right?
Yeah.
And so I come to find out that like instead of doing that, I just take my chest into a 45-degree up. And then that's all I have to concentrate on. And I'm not using my back muscles so tightly and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
actually, I really like that. And also by squeezing your shoulder blades back and down, you create a lot of posterior compression. So your backside of the rib cage is so compressed. So normally, if we like talk about mobility again, so if your backside of the ribcage is really compressed and doesn't expand the way it's supposed to, we're going to be limited in your external rotation. Where if the front part of the ribcage is very compressed and doesn't, with each inhale, doesn't expand, I'm gonna be limited in my internal rotation. So that's another thing. Probably people like you're gonna see like a forward head posture or rounded shoulders, because those people. This is just a strategy for the body to find better breathing strategy. And
I didn't know that's why.
Yeah, and because the rib cage is supposed to expand 360 degrees with each breath, and then if we can expand it, we use more secondary muscles that are up at the neck, right above your clavicles, like scallions, sternocleidomastoids, your upper traps. They are elevating and then get overactive, but those are secondary muscles to breathing.
Gotcha.
They are not supposed to be primary muscles. And then we bring our head forward to find better airway and to breathe better.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
Well, I didn't know
very
that's the reason why.
fascinating. Yeah, very fascinating. And then I think like that's it's important the reason why you ended up in this type of posture, because like even if you do a lot of chin tucks, you push your head back. This doesn't mean like it's gonna fix the issue why how you ended up this in the first place.
Yeah.
So you need to address the what was the cause and what it's made you come in this position.
Well, a lot of people would say that, you know, looking on your phone all the time, you're always like this, right? Looking on your phone.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you can improve like that hump and bringing it back?
By doing breathing exercises is probably one of the best ways to create that expansion of the rib cage. Because if the rib cage expands, so normally within the day you're gonna take breaths about 20,000 times, or over 20,000 times. And then if you don't breathe properly, then no matter what you do, it might be very temporary relief, but if you don't fix the breathing, this would never fix the thing that you're trying to target on.
Yeah.
That also applies for people that's in very arch low backs, and their rib cage is flared up. So for them, it's also really important to.
I see those people like with their hips more forward too.
More forward,
right?
yeah. And we call it anterior pelvic tilt, where your hip is moved forward and then rib cage is flared up and low back arch. And so if I breathe in throughout my whole day in my lower rib cage, and then I'm so compressed back here because I'm arch, and then I don't expand it, I would still never I would never fix that. No matter if I do a lot of core exercises to bring my ribs down, if I do a lot of hamstrings exercises to bring my hip back, this never is gonna make any meaningful change.
Right.
But if I breathe and learn how to fully exhale, engage my internal oblique muscle, so by fully exhaling, bring it down, and that teaches my body how to use my internal obliques to keep my rib cage down. So that reduces the low back arch. And also by those breathing exercises, we have our feet contact. They're very important because if we create a neurological connection between our heel, let's say on the wall, which is going to be like a 90-90 breathing. So I have my feet up on the wall, my knees are bent at 90, where my hip is also at 90, and I keep that heel contact, and then I just very gently drag my heel down into the wall to lift my tailbone very slightly off the floor, and then feel my hamstring. So now I'm building this neurological connection. Okay, now when I have my heel down on the floor, I'm using my hamstring that pulls my hip back. So that keeps it in more neutral position.
Okay.
Because what happens a lot of people when they have this arch low back, their whole center of mass is more shifted forward. Their weight is more on their toes and not much on the heels. And so what we want to reteach our body is, okay, so my heel is on the floor, I'm shifting my center of mass more back, and then I use my hamstrings to keep my hip back. And then when I train properly my internal obliques muscles to keep my rib cage down, so normally that is going to lead to much more meaningful change in the posture and this type of scenario.
Gotcha. So, okay, so laying down and doing that, what you just said. And then, that's interesting. So that's gonna fix this thing? Or that's one of the ways you could do it, right?
Yeah, one of the ways, at least in my knowledge that I have right now, that's probably one of the best ways that I know so far. Yeah.
And is that the thing that I do with like my feet on the wall? And then my arms are like this.
Yeah. So
I'm breathing.
Just this reach, as I mentioned, like different reaches, they create different expansion of the rib cage. So this, for example, is going to create more expansion of your front part of the chest, and which is going to improve your internal rotation. So normally when I do those measurements with people, so let's use the shoulders, for example. This is just, I'm doing it just to see where they have compression.
Yeah.
So just if I see their external rotation is limited, yeah, they have more limitation on their backside of the rib cage. So I need to add them a reach. So normally a lower reach where you have your hands somewhere between 0 to 60 degrees is going to lead to more posterior expansion.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where this reach that I showed you, if somebody has more limited internal rotation, that means they have more front part of the rib cage is more compressed.
Right.
So that is going to lead to open up that part of the rib cage.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's some good knowledge right there. I like that. I like that a lot. And then obviously the last part of it is hydration, right? So what's the role of hydration and how beneficial is it to your body?
It plays role in a lot of different things. It plays role in your metabolism. It plays role in just for water-soluble vitamins you need it. Also, when let's say when you're exercising, you're not well hydrated. Your body is going to produce much more cortisol compared to if you're well hydrated,
Gotcha.
which can lead to more muscle breakdown. And you also are going to perceive the workout harder. So we're going to normally there was a research that I was reading a while ago. It was about basketball players, and it was showing for those basketball players how actually when they weren't very well hydrated, how their strength decreased by 3%, their power decreased by 2%, and their endurance decreased by 10%. While this might not seem like really big numbers, you know, like this could be like in this competitive type of environment that can mean like from winning or losing.
Yeah.
So
So when you're in the gym as a martial artist and you're training with your coach and you never get water breaks, that's actually a bad thing.
yeah, this is actually how I used to be when I was training.
Same.
And then I was actually never used to. It took me a while to get used to bring my water bottle and then drink water as I exercise, because this was the way I was training for a long time, for probably 10 years.
Especially when you don't see anybody else drinking water.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the only one that drinks a lot of water.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think they see it as a sign of weakness, maybe. I don't know what it is.
I think there's other things that you can do for mental toughness, but I don't know exactly the reason, but it's hydration is really important. Yeah.
Okay. And then my other question was about metabolism. I feel like a lot of people, especially in the United States, have a problem with metabolism. Do you know of some ways that they could build up their metabolism?
Yeah, so definitely. Okay, so for some people it could be something that is hormonal, or they have something that is underlying issues. But I think there's also a lot of natural ways that you can do to improve your metabolism. So one of them is just building more muscle, doing strength training. Will be is going to help to have a higher metabolism. Also, another thing, drinking more water. Normally when you drink water and you're well hydrated, you're gonna burn, it's a little bit more calories, but in the long term still can add up some more caloric burn in the longer term and make a difference.
Gotcha, okay.
For metabolism, so we have a food, it's a term called thermogenetic effect of foods. So normally when you eat some foods, you're going to burn more calories just by eating them.
Okay, yeah.
And digesting them.
Yeah.
So normally protein is going to, by digesting protein, you're going to burn more calories compared to carbs or fat. And also fiber, you're going to burn pretty much it's like close to 0 calories, because you, by digesting it, you burn a lot of the fiber as well.
Okay, gotcha. So concentrating on protein and fiber
Yeah.
will do the trick as well.
Yeah.
And
And
with water and all that.
yeah. And I think another thing that is also for people that can really slow down their metabolism is if for a very long time they constantly try to lose weight. If you lose weight but you never try to recover from that weight loss, your metabolism, normally your metabolism is always working and trying a way to adapt. Always your metabolism is going to find a way to adapt. Let's say I really restrict my diet for very long, so for very low caloric diet. So let's say my caloric maintenance, if I eat, for example, 3,000 calories, and I eat 3,000 calories, and I know when I eat those 3,000 calories, I maintain the same weight, nothing changes.
Yeah.
But let's say I decrease my calorie intake by 1,000, and I start eating 2,000 calories, and then I do it for a very long time. So I'm gonna lose some weight, but my metabolism is going to eventually adapt to those 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
And
And then it's going to be your normal maintenance.
is going to be my
Maintenance.
new maintenance, yeah. And then in order for me to make any further progress, I need to restrict it more than that. And then I gotta go to 1,500, for example. And it makes it much more, it makes it harder to make sustainable progress. Instead of just alternating between, let's say, okay, for 3-4 months, you're losing weight, you set up some targets that you want to lose, but then after that, you're trying to recover from that and maybe going in some caloric surplus, eating a little bit more calories and building more muscle, building more strength within that. And then you cycle back to, after that, 3 or 4 months of more building, you cycle back to losing body fat and weight as well.
Okay, so it's almost like this thing where it's like you're losing and then boom,
then you
losing.
Exactly.
That.
Yeah, and that is going to reassure that you still maintain your metabolism higher. Otherwise, if you do it for a year or two, then it's makes it much harder to build up higher metabolism. Yeah, I think finding the things that work best for you to maintain some caloric deficit will be very important.
Sure.
Very often people were going to, let's say, we're going to do very well Monday through Friday on their diet and exercise, but then Saturday and Sunday they were going to just eat much more than what they were planning to, which is very common to see. But
cheat days, right?
Yeah,
That's what they say.
but those cheat days that can really ruin all the progress you've made throughout the day. So let's say if you were staying in 500 calories deficit every day, Monday through Friday. So by Friday, you were in 2,500 calories deficit. But it's so easy if you're on Saturday and Sunday, it's very easy to eat over 2,500 calories.
Right.
And so all that progress that you've made you just ruin it. And what I found, like, it works very well for some people in this type of scenario is, okay, so what are the foods that you really enjoy, and what are those foods that on Saturday and Sunday that you really feel that you're missing throughout the week?
Yeah.
And okay, so I don't want to restrict yourself from those foods, but how about maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday throughout the week, add some of those foods. So in this case, in the middle of the week, you still eat this food. So by the end of the week, you are not feeling like you were so restricted throughout the week. So for some people, it was going to help them to eat much less.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that's probably a good strategy to probably help you to maintain caloric deficit. Yeah.
Kind of tricks the mind too.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I appreciate you coming through.
Thank you. Really appreciate for having me on.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Always pleasure.
If you enjoyed this talk, comment below. Let us know what you think. If you have a different perspective on things, it's always good to know that. If you have any questions for me or Bobby, please let us know down below. I know there's bunch of questions that I asked him, and it's questions that I feel like other people want to know as well. So ask those questions. Let us have a discussion below. We talked about sleep. We talked about water. We talked about muscle growth, muscle loss, weight loss. A lot of great tips in this episode, and I hope it helps somebody out there to either to improve their body and to improve their health and fitness, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm Oliver Riera. This is Bobby. This is Inspired Voices, and we're out.
Thank you again.